Hello and welcome to Export Digest, your #1 program that periscopes Nigeria's non-oil export. We will bring you information that helps you see all the economic possibilities in non-oil exports, which is undoubtedly Nigeria's alternative source of income. On the program, we highlight several opportunities and explore strategies to exploit these opportunities as we seek to identify and provide solutions to challenges in the sector. Our goal is to enable practitioners and policy makers improve on their respective roles as it relates to export business. My name is Mayokun Akpoterabo.
I'm Magdalene Palmer.
My name is Toyin Yumesibi. I'm based in the US.
I'm Ken from Ken Israel.
Keep watching Export Digest.
And I would recommend very strongly that you come along.
Keep watching Export Digest.
In what many see as magical, the price of Naira to $1 crashed from well over 500 Naira to $1 to about 400 Naira to $1 last week. What then must we do? How should we maximize the forex buoy currently on? How do we work to ensure non-oil exports is given the needed boost so as to harness the opportunities there and allow it contribute appreciably to our foreign reserve? That is our focus on today's episode of Export Digest.
My name is Ken Okauha, the president of the National Association of Nigerian Traders, NANS.
I have been a C. Uruapa, personal development trainer, public affairs analyst, and an entrepreneur.
Keep watching
Export Digest.
Export Digest.
Don't change it out.
How can the good news around town about the Naira appreciating rub off on non-oil exports? Let's join Mr. Femi Boyede, an international trade professional and the MD CEO of Koinonia Ventures Limited.
Yeah, we are as excited as every Nigerian about the immediate, the radical, the drastic, the prompt response of the exchange rate of the Nigerian currency against other foreign currencies since the injection of new currencies, new money into the forex system. Suddenly from $519, in fact $525 Naira to $1 some 8 days ago, today the dollar is exchanging at 455 to a Naira in the black market and much lower in the other orthodox exchange platforms. That is very welcome. I agree that that's where we should be headed for. For a long time, people have said, some actually said you could legislate the exchange rate of the dollar. Previous governments are perceived to have been able to keep Naira to $1 at a certain exchange rate. What we never asked was how were they able to do this? They were able to do this because the Nigerian foreign reserve was very, very rich and was stable. We were able to fulfill our daily quotas of 2 million to 2.2 million barrels per day. Oil prices were at 100 and above dollars per barrel, and therefore we were making just fantastic money, so we could spend as much. Suddenly that was no longer possible, so the foreign reserve was depleting and the non-oil export sector was also dwindling. Therefore the chase became too harsh. The chase for scarce dollar became too harsh for the available Naira. The result was what we saw. But now suddenly government has been able to pump in more dollars. Government is making it more attractive now to hold the Naira than to buy the dollar. So there is more available, and therefore the exchange rate is dropping and dropping. And then the speculators do not know on what side of the bed government is going to wake up on Monday. So as of today, they want to dispose as much as they have. All of these are theoretics, they are rhetorics, they are more or less like what people will say, trial and error. What is not trial and error, however, is the fact that we need to imagine that wherever government is bringing in the dollars from, some people say they have a sudden reserve of $3 billion, maybe from recovered loots and what have you. Wherever it is, we don't know. It is going to run out. What we should be looking at right now is what will happen, or how can government make sure that this supply does not decrease and does not run out. That's where we are making the case on this episode of Export Digest now for now is the time for government to ensure absolute support for non-oil exports in a way that we can begin to replace that which has been pumped into the economy. It's the gospel that we have preached for 30 years. The truth is, one day, crude oil is going to run out. It's happened to us for the past 14 months now. Yes, it's true, some people are even already going to sleep, believing that, oh, with the intervention, positive intervention of the acting president, our oil production levels are climbing again. Oil prices are going higher in the international marketplace, and therefore they are of the opinion that we're going to have a sustained inflow of foreign exchange. It's better to think from the worst case scenario. The issues that made oil prices to plummet, they haven't disappeared. America has not reduced its exploration of shale oil. Brazil has not reduced its research for alternative sources of energy. The world has not said that they are no longer going after green energy that makes oil to become unattractive. All of those are still realities that live with us. And therefore, it is the time. If maybe it's half time in the football match, or maybe we were even assuming that the match was over and suddenly the referee has given us an extra 30 minutes. This time, no matter how we look at it, interlude, break, welcome rest or something, this is the time that we should look at now. I believe that now is the time for Nigerian government at the highest economic levels to sit down, to have a parley with the exporters in Nigeria, especially the manufacturer exporters. Value added export is the only alternative to crude oil, the mainstay of Nigeria's foreign exchange.
A lot of program is being implemented by the present administration to revive the economy, but more is needed to be done, and done fast.
You may not understand it today. People didn't understand it 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when a Femi Boyede was praying to God to take away oil from Nigeria. Now, the oil has not gone away. Something happened to oil, and suddenly the whole economy crumbled and was going into recession. In clear terms, the beginning is a dialogue. It's more than imperative between the manufacturer exporter sector and government economic managers. Now is the time. I recall that during the Obasanjo administration, just one segment of Nigeria's non-oil export value chain, the textile exporters, they actually went to the government, they signed an agreement, and President Obasanjo himself signed and sealed a letter that raised the government support, the export expansion grant for the textile sector to 40%. Other sectors were at a ceiling of 30%. His administration was ready to give the textile sector 40% export expansion grant on condition that within 4 years, they were going to deliver $2 billion worth of export. Now, that is a positive challenge. That is a positive agreement between government and practitioners. So at this time, what is the gap in foreign exchange supply? Can government come down from its high horse, eat the humble pie, call manufacturers, get 20, 50 top manufacturer exporters in Nigeria and say, hey, we are in short supply of $10 billion. We believe, and I personally believe, that from cashew alone to one marketing channel from cashew alone, Nigeria can actually generate as high as $1 billion in export proceeds. Cocoa can give equally. Ginger up north can do that much. Solid minerals, we have talked about it for so long, we are not seeing the result. But imagine what we will be doing if we had Anglo Gold exploring gold in Elisha, for example. What is the volume of foreign exchange that they will be contributing to Nigeria? Those are the steps that I think government must take. There has to be a dialogue, and it has to be immediate. The second level is policy. I always use the example of the World Bank report of 1993. If you can lay your hand on that book, it's a big book. It's titled The Making of the Asian Tigers. There was no magic. It was the governments of the Asian countries deciding that export is going to become the mainstay of their economy. So they bent over backward. They made it possible for Asian exporters to sell in the world, and if there was a gap in price, they had an export price adjustment scheme. I believe that part of the 18 incentives that government put in place in 1986 under the structural adjustment program for Nigeria's exports was a scheme called the Export Price Adjustment Scheme that makes it possible for a Nigerian exporter to actually quote for his export at a loss, knowing fully well that there is a window where he will get his price balanced. This appear a little bit technical, advanced, and then the issues of transparency and credibility, but for God's sake, if you don't try it, you cannot get it. We cannot wait until we have a finished document that is completely error-free. We must introduce export-oriented policies, test them out, test the markets, see whether those incentive policies are working or not, and the ones that are not working, we throw them away. The third thing, which ordinarily we would have said is the first thing, is the issue of export expansion grant. 2 years plus, almost going to 3 years now, nobody has gotten a grant. Backlog of Nigerian exporters being owed, and the international market has become more volatile, more competitive. Nigerian exporters are left, an average Nigerian manufacturer exporter is a whole local government on its own. He sinks his own boreholes, he generates his own power, he creates the road that goes to where he is making his the product for export. There is a company in Kano, in a village or a community called Jogana. Jogana has a small population of about 3,500 persons. There is zero unemployment. Nobody is unemployed, including the physically challenged. They are all working in a conglomerate of an Asian company that is export oriented. That company has been in Kano for going on to 27 years. They have never gone off generator. Yes, they have never gone off generator. So they've never taken the risk of turning on their light to NEPA or the national grid, because it will take them 16 hours to restart the machine if there is a sudden disruption. So they run 24/7 on generator. But they run profitably. They are, in fact, one of the first export processing factories that Nigeria ever licensed. They produce military boots for Guatemala. It's right here in this country. I've used examples of the United Nations procurement system. I think it's easy. I think it's easy to get 10 top Nigerian companies manufacturing blankets, towel, tarpaulin. We have tarpaulin industries in Zaria, bicycles, water. Yes, you heard me right, water that we drink. Swan water, Ragolis water, we have them in Nigeria. The basic necessities, what's their name in Lagos? The makers of paracetamol, that are being sought in war-ravaged areas, in natural disaster affected areas. Get these companies export ready. Ask them what they need. It's government that will do this, because Nigeria is still a government-led economy. So the solutions are going to be government-led. Draw them together. What can we do to help? Put the right policies in place. There are companies out there that want to come and invest in Nigeria. And I know, because I know the number of companies that I have held meetings with in North America, that only need 1, 2, 3 policies tinkered and refined, and of course made predictable, a guarantee that if they came to invest, this will happen, that will happen. These are the kinds of suggestions that I want to, through this medium, to pass on to the government, because if we do not begin to create the dollars to replace the one that we have pumped in, that brought the rate of the exchange to what it is now, it will go higher again. And this time around, it may not immediately respond. It has to be a matter of policy.
These times present a rare and great opportunity to put actions to plans towards making Nigeria not only a recognizable non-oil producing giant, but an exporter of non-oil commodities and products.
Still talking about policy, Central Bank of Nigeria needs, it is an imperative, it is compulsory. The Central Bank must consult with all stakeholders before they release policies that have to do with forex. Exchange rate is a factor, whether you like it or not, in export performance. As of today, Nigeria's export product in the supply side is costed at farm gate times terminal price times black market rate. So the farmer in Kachia knows how much ginger is being sold in Vietnam as of today. He knows how much dollar is exchanging in zone 4. So when you go there, he's going to give you a per ton price that takes those two into consideration. But the central bank says when you export, you have to surrender 100% to your commercial bank. They must buy the proceed from you. You have bought at terminal price times 455 today. You have sold, the money comes back after 90 days. You were compelled anyway to grant 90 days credit, because the man must collect his bill of lading, he must clear it and put in his warehouse before he authorizes your payment. When you have gone through all of this, the policy says you have to sell your Naira to your bank at 305 Naira per dollar. Who's going to do that? So, even if others are afraid to say it, I make bold to tell government that the reality right now is that there is more smuggling going on than exports in Nigeria. People cannot bring back their money into their export proceed domiciliary account. It's not possible. So they are cooking documents. They are under invoicing or over invoicing. They are making the invoice to suit the policy. The government is not getting the effect of export. Not just export. You are talking about diaspora import of capital. Diasporans would rather sell to somebody whose child is near them, who can put the Naira into their account here in Nigeria at 450 Naira, than bring it in and go and sell at the bureau de change or to the commercial bank at 305. What you don't own, you don't enforce. You don't know what they are doing, washing dead bodies in mortuary, driving Uber and taxis all over the place, and then they cannot bring their money into the country and get a fair exchange rate. Now they're going to go behind the scenes, and when things are happening behind the scenes, it's like drugs, alcohol and tobacco during the Cold War or during the Second World War. Once you are selling at the black market, the rate is going to continue to be high. So we need as government to tinker with policy to make it attractive for people to come out and operate transparently rather than to find other ways. I marvel when even the central bank circular is asking exporters to go and source money from other sources. Are we asking them to, we don't care how you get your money. So if you don't care how they get their money to export, you shouldn't care how they sell their money when they export.
To enable Nigerians optimize the benefits from the country's vast agricultural products such as cassava, oil palm, rice, tomatoes and others, the Bank of Industry has launched a 5 billion Naira cottage agro-processing fund, the CAP Fund. Customers can access the fund to establish plans to process our various agro-produce into food products or intermediate raw materials for industries at a single-digit interest rate of 9% per annum. For more information on the CAP Fund, please visit www.boinigeria.com/capfund. Bank of Industry, developing Nigeria's agro-processing industry through the CAP Fund.
I'm Palma.
My name is Toyin Yumesiri. I'm based in the US.
I'm Ken from Ken Ife,
Keep watching Export Digest.
and I would recommend very strongly that you come along.
Keep watching Export Digest.
It takes export-friendly policies, adequate support from government, and by far all those critical issues we looked at on Export Digest today. The Corporate Affairs Commission ensure a business-friendly environment in Nigeria. Let's hear from them.
At present, to register a limited by guarantee, you require the approval of the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation. In most cases, getting this approval is always a very cumbersome process. It takes time. And some of the customers have to take it upon themselves to even follow up with the Ministry of Justice. Even with that, sometimes it's difficult to get this approval. Sometimes files are kept for an inordinate period without any reason. So the Commission has proposed that if the approval does not come back within a certain period, then the Commission should be able to go ahead and register the company. The silence of the Honorable Attorney General should be regarded as consent to register. If the approval does not come back, or if the approval or rejection does not come back within a period of 2 months, then it should be regarded as consent. This will facilitate the registration of these limited by guarantee companies. Other areas concerns issues of insolvency, although there was a proposal to have a separate insolvency law which was under consideration before the National Assembly. But we have tried to make elaborate amendments as it relates to insolvency matters in the Companies and Allied Matters Act, issues of liquidation and winding up. Other critical areas covers issues such as the right to form a business name and the types of business name that we're supposed to have. The modern trend is you have partnerships, different types of partnership. You have limited liability partnerships. You have limited partnerships which are not envisaged in the present law. So we are proposing an amendment to allow people option to either register a limited partnership, or a limited liability partnership, or a sole proprietorship, or any kind of business names that somebody intends to register.
We have come to the end of the program, Export Digest, for today. We hope the package has inspired policymakers to take deliberate steps in improving our nation's non-oil export sector. We also believe we have improved the knowledge of stakeholders about concepts and initiatives that will benefit your export performance or motivate you to export if you're yet to make up your mind.
Hello, I'm Denise.
My name is Yinka Titiloye. I'm a farmer. Welcome to the Itagro Model Farm.
I'm Craig Waters from Oklahoma State University.
Watch Export Digest.
Watch Export Digest.
Watch Export Digest.
Thank you for joining us today. Remember, you can watch this particular episode and others before it on our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/Export Digest. Do send in your comments, observations, and contributions as we continue on our march towards making Nigeria a viable exporting nation and to lead our viewers into profitable export business. Our channels of communication are open and now showing on your screen. We appreciate our supporting brands. You also can advertise your products and services on Export Digest. You'll be glad you did. Call us today. Let us grow your business with you. Do join us same time on the same channel next week for another educative package of Export Digest. My name is Mayokun Akwaterabo. God bless Nigeria.